What's up, y'all? So I know that yesterday, Tuesday, you didn't get an episode, and now I want to announce to you that I will be dropping episodes starting today on Wednesdays. Wednesdays will be our days to get our full episode. So Mindful Mondays on Monday and a full Shit I'm 30 episode on Wednesday. So Wednesday mornings will be our meeting days. And I also want to let you know that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. You can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/shit I'm 30. You guys know that I talk about this every single episode because I'm a huge audiobook fan. Now, I've been listening to Ryan Holiday's book, but I'm almost done. So my next book that I'll be reading or listening to is Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. I don't know if you guys have seen her special on Netflix. It's great. I believe it's called The Courage to something. The Call to Courage. So Netflix, there's a special called The Call to Courage by Brene Brown. But this book specifically, Dare to Lead, it talks about daring yourself, rising strong, being brave out here in this crazy, wild world. And it's based on research. She created research with leaders and change makers and culture shifters. So I want to put the ideas that I have to lead. I want to get myself in a position where I can not only lead, my business, I want to be able to lead my daughter, my family, myself, and not be lost. So again, that's Brene Brown, Dare to Lead, audibletrial.com/shit I'm 30 if you have not tried a book from them yet, and you can have a 30-day free trial. As long as you'd like, you can keep it. If not, the book will forever be yours. Now let's get started with the show. Welcome to the Shit I'm 30 podcast. This is the weekly show where we discuss and share our unfiltered opinions on topics such as mental health, relationships. Sometimes it gets a little kinky and we talk about sex, parenting, and so much more. With me, your host, Carla Ramirez. Now, my goal is to get rid of society's expectations about where we should be when we're in our 30s and just free ourselves to live the lives that we've always dreamed of. Now, friends, remember, it is never too late. Oh my God, this is the 100th episode. I can't believe it. And at the same time, I'm like, wow, hey girl, you made it 100. Okay. This episode is special, but there's not a regular episode or a bonus or a Patreon episode or post or even a Mindful Monday that's now new. That wouldn't be possible with you guys. So I want to thank you, celebrate with you guys for riding with me from day one and every change that I have been through in this journey, because there have been quite a few. I one day have a co-host, then I don't, then again I do, but then I don't. And you guys stay here with me. You keep sharing. And honey, these listens keep on rising. We keep on hitting these charts. Okay. And again, it's all possible because of you. I know I have a lot of new listeners that might not know my entire journey and maybe don't know much about me. So this episode, I'm going to do a little story time. I'm going to take you through my journey of how I got to where I am today. And also, you'll be hearing from some of my besties. If you don't know, all of my listeners, including you, are my friends. So, hey friend. But if you have taken that step to support me a little bit further and you're one of my patrons on Patreon, you're my BSTIE bestie. On Patreon, I have bonus episodes and you guys are like my human diaries, like for real. I'm really transparent on this platform itself, but sometimes there's some things that I want to talk about, but I just might not be ready to just yet, or maybe I just won't share them on here. And that's what my besties are there for, to hear me out and we can talk through it. And actually, the $5 tier, we're about to start doing twice a month video conference calls. We called each other the Carla Circle. So we're going to have a full-blown virtual party, wine, and talk twice a month. So if you guys want to join on that, ladies, it'll be mostly ladies, but it can be fellas in there too. We're going to get together and it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait for the first one this month. I really can't wait. But anyways, before we get started with my journey and some of the questions y'all had for me, we're going to listen to some of my besties. They sent me over some messages, voice memos, letting me know what their favorite moments of my top 100 episodes were. So let's go ahead and get started with Free.
Hey Carla, it's King Free. Since I don't have just one favorite moment, I would say any episode that includes a debate with you is my favorite, especially that Agree to Disagree episode with Mandy on Patreon. First of all, I get two of my faves in one episode, and you both are able to express your views about a topic without being hateful to one another. Also, Mindful Mondays are my new favorite thing because they're a short but sweet reminder of some of the things in life we may not usually remember to be mindful of. Thank you for all that you do, and I can't wait to hear more.
Thank you so much. Now, seriously, that agree to disagree was intense. And you know, her and I are always debating. I love to debate. Some people don't like me debating, but you know what? There are then folks like you who are like, you know what? I can understand why she does it. I promise you guys. It's not me arguing. I just like to get to the bottom of the why. Now, let's get to another one of my besties, Denise, and let's see what she has to say for her favorite moments and favorite episodes.
Hey Carla, it's Denise. I don't have one specific moment within the last 100 episodes of yours that were my favorite, but I would say episodes 19 and 21, which were the episodes about financial literacy and buying a home, were probably the most impactful for me because, as you know, I purchased my first home last February, so it's almost been a year. And I say around March of April of 2018, I was thinking about buying a home, but I wasn't sure, one, if I could even afford it, two, if I could even do it as far as my credit. In the first episode, I believe, I could have them mixed up, but the first episode basically gave me confirmation like, yes, this is what you need to do, because in the podcast, it was stated that it's cheaper to own versus to rent. And then a couple of weeks later, you have realtors on your podcast that are giving advice and steps of what you need to do to purchase a home. And I started to realize, like, oh, you don't have to have an 800 or a perfect credit score to buy a home. You can have at least a 580. And now my credit score was way better than a 580. So I was like, okay, you can do this. Oh, I can use my 401k as for my closing costs or my down payment. I can do this. So those two episodes gave me that extra push that I needed, and they were confirmation that that's what I should do at the time. And I will say the home buying process is not necessarily difficult. The hardest part of it is actually finding the home. Once you find your home, it's smooth sailing, and next thing you know, you're moving in. But personally, for me, those two episodes, I believe they're 19 and 21. I could be wrong, but I think those are the episodes. Those were the most impactful for me.
Yes, they were episode 19 and 21. 19, I had Kimberly Stewart, the financial manager or advisor, I should say, and Mandy on there. And that was the whole big 35K and mediocre that went crazy a little bit. And then 21, I had on two realtors to talk about it because I wanted to show to everyone that you're able to buy a home and you don't have to be making $100,000, $200,000 a year to own a home. It definitely is cheaper to own a home than it is to rent. So if you haven't listen to those episodes, go back there, listen to them. And actually, I think I'm going to revamp them and, talk about a little bit about it again because it's really, really important, especially with tax season coming up. I think we're definitely upon it. I can bring someone on to talk about how you can possibly use your income tax money to purchase a home. So now we're going to go over and listen to what Cara has to say. Cara. She told me how to say her name right. Cara.
Happy 100th episode, Carla. I'm so proud of your progression from episode 1 to now. My favorite episode is episode 59. You are so honest and pure about your relationship with your mother. Although I do have a relationship with my mother, I have a lot of my own issues with her. And this episode gave me the confidence to be me and not try so hard to get acceptance from my mother. Thank you for allowing us to grow with you. The transformation you have made during the first 100 episodes has set the foundation for greater success in the next 100. I'm wishing you all the happiness that you deserve.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. It's definitely been a roller coaster and a journey, but one that I wouldn't change for the world. And that episode that you're referring to, episode 59, I think it's called An Open Letter to Mommy Dearest. It was one of the rawest, most transparent episodes that I've done. I'm very, very open with everything that happens to me. I do keep some things to myself, but I have had some issues. I haven't talked to my mother in over 2.5 years. It's something that I'm very sensitive about. It's something that definitely hurts me to my core. So I did an open letter to my mother on the podcast, and that's where that episode comes from. It was hard. It was hard for me to release that episode, but I needed it, and it definitely helped me heal some, and it helped me just to keep moving forward. And when I say to you guys that this podcast is definitely very therapeutic for me, it really, really is, which is why I encourage everyone to, if you have a story to tell, listen, start a podcast. Plug, I can help you. But if you haven't listened to my episode 59, definitely go ahead and listen to it as soon as you can. Now, another one of my besties is Shay. And let's see what Shay had to say about her top moments of these past 100 episodes.
Hey, Carla girl, it's Shay. Congratulations on 100 weeks. I'm so proud of you. I love your podcast. It gets me through my weeks because being 30 and being the mom of a toddler is tough as hell, girl. I want to say one of my favorite episodes was when you had Nicola the Medium on. I actually had a reading with her and she was amazing. So I actually want to say thanks for putting her out there in the universe. And now she's a part of my ecosystem and I love her and I love you. Congratulations. Woohoo. Here's to 10 more years of your podcast and then being 40. I don't know. That got weird. You can cut it off. Bye.
I will not cut it off. I think you are amazing. Thank you so much on congratulating me and being here all the time and supporting me on a weekly basis. The episode you're talking about is episode 86. 86 with Nicola. She is a psychic medium. I was terrified. I was in Atlanta and I'd always wanted to do an episode with a psychic or some type of medium, but I was terrified to get read. So I made sure to let her know, listen, girl, I'm scared. Let's just do this. And she talked about her stories, how she got to what she is. So if you guys are interested in that, it's episode 89. And also Nicola does readings, I think on Tuesdays for like $10 or something along those lines. So you guys can look her up on Instagram as well, but go listen to that episode. It was definitely very, very interesting. So we have one more, I believe. Daisy. We have Daisy. Let's see what she has to say about her favorite 100s.
This is Daisy, also known as Miss D. So not only as a fan, but also as one of your alumni. Definitely one of my favorite parts of the entire podcast, definitely of your shows, would have to be Shit Talk. But I think in general, when it comes to your show and why I connect to it so much, definitely your transparency, your honesty, welcoming us with open arms to share your journey, your experiences, your past, your present, and now your future. Thank you.
You know it, girl. That's my favorite segment, Shit Talk. I always got in trouble for talking shit growing up. So now it's like, hey, I'm getting paid for it. So suck my... Okay, I'm not going there. Let me act like I got some class. So thank you so much. And Daisy is actually one of my alumni. She is currently in my Idea to Launch Academy program to launch her podcast in 30 days. So hers will be out very, very, very soon. So watch out for that. Congrats, girl. You're doing a great job. And thank you for always supporting me. Now that I got to listen to my besties, like that literally just gave me this surge of energy. I'm going to take you through my journey of how I got to where I am and how these young ladies were able to tell me, I enjoy your show. I enjoy your content, but this wasn't, overnight. I went through a lot to get to where I am right now, and I have still a long, long road ahead of me. So let me tell you about my story. Back in 2016, after my father passed away, my feelings and experiences were literally like a bottle of Coke that if you shook it up, it was just boom, ready to explode. And I needed an outlet. So in 2017, I decided that I was going to start a blog and write down my feelings and what I was going through. I talked a lot, or I still do talk a lot about my dad because he was such a huge impact in my life. It didn't matter what I was going on, what I was going through, what fights we got into. He would never go more than a few days without calling me, vice versa. We would just talk to each other. I remember one time, I think I was like 23 years old. We were in Puerto Rico and I had Ayana and I wanted to go see my friend in Dorado, which is where I'm from, Suania. And when I get there, we got into this huge fight. They didn't want me to go. And I'm like, what the hell? They would treat me like a child. Like they really did treat me like a kid until I was like well into my 20s outside of my marriage. So we got into this huge fight. I can't remember what it was, but I mean like fist fight. We would fight. And I remember there was blood on his face. I was all fucked up. But literally, not even an hour later, I was in the house next door, which is where I would stay. And he calls me. He's like, dinner is ready. And I just went over there and we ate and everything was cool. Like between me and him, not so much between my mother, but him and I, we were good. We could fight and everything was just fine. So like I said, I talk about him I miss that old man. But when he was gone, I was overwhelmed with that loss. I was raising my daughter and I just felt really alone. I don't know if you've ever felt just alone, like in a deserted island, although there's so much going on around you, but that's where I was. So there I was, and I started this blog called Shit, I'm 30. I turned 30 May 5th, 2017. Shout out to all the Cinco de Mayo babies. That's why I love tequila. Duh. And like I said, like that was the perfect time. I was feeling not accomplished because of what others had to say about me. I graduated, I believe it was a week after my birthday with my business and accounting degree. And I still wasn't enough, and I wasn't accomplished enough for some of the people that were closest to me. And I couldn't understand why. You know, I had my baby at 18. I worked, I hustled, I got my degree, I did everything that I had to do, and it still wasn't enough. And it just felt just like I was nothing. I was just nothing, and I didn't think anyone could relate to me. So I started to write about all of this, and to my surprise, I had a lot of people write right away, and they felt the same way. They gave me stories of things that they had been through. So now I would sit on my bed and write. But it got to a point where I was like, damn, I'm tired of writing. I want to be able to express myself with my voice. I need people to hear my pain, my hurt, my happiness. Just, I want you to hear my feelings. So I quickly decided that I needed to start a podcast. But here was another obstacle. How the hell do you start a podcast? I was a podcast junkie, like literally. In 2014, I left the nightlife and I started working corporate accounting. So I was behind a desk 8 to 10 hours a day with no human interaction. So I would spend my days listening to podcasts. But then again, how do you start a podcast? Oh, what I was doing before 2014 was I was working in the club. I was a VIP waitress. So if you listen to other episodes within the show, you'll hear me talking about those days. Those were fun, money-filled days. But it was time to grow up. And I went straight into accounting. So I spent months trying to figure out how to start a podcast. There was a lot of information on the internet, but everyone had different methods of starting a podcast. Some had ridiculous studio equipment that I had to buy. And I was like, all right, I'm making okay money, but damn, like, what the fuck? Does it really cost as much to start a podcast? And some said that you could just use your phone to start. So finally, I went with what I thought was the right equipment and started to teach myself how to use the equipment first. And I taught myself how to record, how to edit, how to engineer, how to post on all the podcast platforms, and all the rest of the fun behind the scenes stuff that you do with podcasts. It's a lot behind the scenes for me to be able to get you this show to your ears like right now. Number 100. And trust me, from 1 to I don't know how many, there's been so many changes in my audio and what I'm doing. I've perfected a lot. I did a lot of trial and error, but I'm here now, you know, thriving with this podcast. So I was adamant when I wanted to start this podcast that I didn't want to do a show alone. In my head, I was like, nope, not doing a solo podcast. That shit is for the birds. That's stupid. I'm not doing it. So I told my good old as hell bestie, Dexty, she hears this, she's going to kill me, to join me on the show. She was already in her 30s, and she was like, yeah, let's do it. So she agreed, but little did I know, I think she only agreed to do this so I would get the podcast started and going, because she knew I wouldn't start on my own. And she's like, you know, it's a great idea. You seem really excited about it. Let's go ahead and do it. So we started together. And within like 8 weeks, I think she was like, girl, so we need to go to Starbucks. We need to talk. And I was like, okay, cool. We're going to go plan some things out. And I was trying to figure out why she was acting a little different. And come to find out, she's like, look, I don't want to ever do a live show. I don't like all these people wanting to know everything about me. This is just not for me. And I was like, what? What do you mean this is not for you? We're doing this together. What am I supposed to do if you drop out? What? Oh my God, my life is over. But don't get me wrong. I'm extremely grateful that she decided to tell me before our friendship was ruined or strained, because I just felt like I couldn't do this alone, but I needed her friendship more than I needed this podcast. So she reassured me that I could do this by myself, and I quickly turned the show into, Shit, I'm 30 with Carla and Friends instead of Carla and Bestie. So just a few weeks after going solo, I hit the top 200 charts on iTunes, and that gave me my first reassurance that I was doing the right thing and everything was going to be okay. So a few times, actually more than a few, I wanted to up and quit, but I didn't. I would get these little signs here and there that would reassure me to keep going. Like there were a few. I remember one time I didn't have an episode. I don't know. I think someone canceled on me. It took me really quickly to realize that people flake on you for episodes all the time and last minute. So this girl was supposed to show up. I think it was at 7 for me to record the episode for the next day. And 5 minutes or 10 minutes before, she was like, I'm sorry, I can't come. And I'm like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Where do I get an episode from? I'm supposed to be Carla and Friends. I still had never done a solo episode. I was not going to do a solo episode. So I snatched up together some old episodes that I never released with Dex and engineered, put them together and put them all into one episode. And I hated it. I hated that entire episode, but I said, I'm not missing a week. I can't miss a week. So I post the episode, and the next day I'm at work and Instagram crashed, right? One of those days where we all knew, like, holy shit, when Instagram crashes, the world crashes. And I posted a clip of the episode, and I was just upset. I was sad. I'm like, this shit is not for me anymore. I stayed up all night, and I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the work I put out. This is not for me. And that day, Van Lathan commented under my post, and he's like, I love this podcast, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh my God. I don't know if he's being nice or if he's just trying to do his good deed for the day. But did you notice the show? You notice what we talked about? Like, thank you, and I really said thank you to God. I'm like, that was just a sign that I needed to keep going. And actually it ended up being a really good episode and people loved that episode, but I was doubting myself. So that was one of the signs that I got, keep going. So during all of this time, I was a full-time corporate accountant. So I would get off around 5, 6 o'clock when it wasn't closed week, because during closed week, I would work like 70 hours. I would leave work, pick up Ayana, then come home and do homework, cook dinner, and then sit down in my spare bedroom, which I turned into a studio because it used to be Ayana's playroom, but she doesn't pay rent. So I evicted her and I said, your playroom is over. It's now a studio. So this went on for months, and I didn't know at the time that this would be my passion. I knew that I was having an amazing time doing this, no matter how many hours I was putting in. Sometimes I would start around 8 or 9 p.m. and I would go to bed 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, sometimes even later. So that means I was putting in my 40, 50 hours at work, and then I was putting 20 plus hours a week on top, on top of my job. But I loved every single minute, every single hour of what I was doing inside the studio. So around episode 25, I recorded an episode with Dex called Dream Chasing. So if you want to go listen to it, again, that was one of my trial and error. I think that was my second pair of microphones, trying to figure out which microphones would be the best. Spent so much money on that. But around episode 25, I recorded that episode with her, and I remember saying that I didn't know what my passion was or what I wanted to do, but I knew it wasn't accounting. I talk about how I was so uncomfortable in my position at work. I felt like I was dying a slow death. And again, this is not for everybody, because I know accountants that love their job. I know secretaries that love what they do, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't my passion. It wasn't what I loved to do. So, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. So the feeling of being uncomfortable started shifting me into thinking about what I loved most. And I realized that what I loved was what I was doing. I was on the mic doing research, telling my story, using my platform to impact and help others. I found my passion, and I had not even realized it. So the episode goes out September 7th of 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And I didn't know what I wanted, but we were talking about, we were chasing this dream, and it wasn't a monetary thing. It was a passion. So I find out a couple of days later that Charlemagne, the God, was going to be in a conference in Atlanta. And I've always had people that I look up to: Oprah, Howard Stern, Amanda Seales. There's people that have had platforms that I love. They're interviewing. And Charlemagne was really one at the top of my list. I loved his point of view on certain things. I love to watch his growth. So I decided that I was going to make him my mentor. And at the time, My ex was like, you're fucking crazy. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, look, he's going to be in Atlanta. I can take a day off of work. And it was $90 round trip. I don't have to take anything with me. I'll get there in the morning and I will get there and make sure that I meet him. So you can actually go back to episode 28 because the end of September, I get up there and I tell the story of how I met him, how I got to him. And that was basically the first shift of my life. And I didn't know how it was going to change anything. Nothing physically happened, not outside of him, giving me his number. And again, you can go listen to episode 28 to listen to that story. But it was a shift in my mindset. I knew that anything that I set myself to do, I could do. I said I was going to go there and get this done, and I did get that done. So once I got that done, there was no stopping me. By October, I quit my job a week before I did my first live show. Now, at this point, I had only been podcasting for 7 months. I had some income coming in from the podcast, but not enough at all to keep me sustained and to live off of. But already for a year prior, I knew that what I was doing with accounting wasn't my goal, wasn't my passion. So I had been saving money. I had been saving quite a bit of money. And I said, I'm going to save up a year's worth of, living expenses and money so I can quit this job. I have to get the hell up out of here and try this. By this time, I knew podcasting and broadcasting was my passion. I wanted radio so bad. I wanted radio. So at this same time that I'm quitting my job, there was an opportunity at a big radio station, Top 40s, here in Orlando. So I auditioned. I reached out to them and I ended up auditioning for the role. And I was in the top 3 people to get the role. I met with them. I was, interviewed a few times and, I was being told, just give us a minute. We'll let you know. So come a couple of months later, I'm like, hey, what's going on? I'm ready for this job. I just knew, let me tell y'all, I just knew the job was mine. I'm like, yep, I quit my job. The stars are aligning. I have this radio job that I'm about to get. I'm going to get paid well there. And that's just going to grow me. And I'm going to be this big radio star. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I get there, and in around January or February, I get told by the person that was supposed to hire me, they were like, listen, we went with somebody else. And I was like, excuse me, I think you called the wrong person because I know you don't mean to tell me that. So they're like, yeah, we want somebody else. And I knew they wanted somebody Hispanic, and I think I was a little too urban for them, but I was crushed, y'all. I was crushed. My ego was crushed. My hopes were crushed. My dreams were crushed because I had all my eggs right there. That's it. My podcast is going to blow up because I'm going to get this radio job. And I didn't. So around that time, I'm going to therapy and I'm telling my therapist, this is bad. Now we're talking about February 2019. I'm like, this is bad. I don't know what I want to do. I think I want to go back to work. And she's like, what are you talking about? You're doing great. You're getting ads from your show. You still have money. You got to keep pushing. Look for something else. Look for another job. That's not the only job that there is. So I had been traveling back and forth to New York now for a couple of times. And I would get really depressed coming back here to Florida. And my therapist one day said to me around that February when I found out that I didn't get the job, I didn't get the position. She said, well, why don't you move to New York? I was like, girl, are you crazy? I can't move to New York. I have a daughter. I have a house here. I have my car. I have everything here. I can't move. She's like, okay, well, what about for the summer? Every time you come back, I've noticed that you get into this depression when you come back from New York. And I hadn't even noticed that myself. I just thought that my mood swings and I'm crazy, So she's like, well, why don't you go for the summer? See if her dad can keep her for a part of the summer, or the whole summer. So I'm like, you're a fucking genius. But where am I going to live? So she goes, don't you have a friend out there? Can you reach out to her? So I reach out to my handy dandy friend, Mandy. And I was like, listen, my therapist said that I got to move to New York because it's for my mental health. And I need to be healthy, bitch. Because, if not, what's going to happen to me? I might die. You need to save my life. I got to move in with you because your roommate just moved out in December. I have to move in. So she's like, what the hell? I have a new roommate. I'm like, when's he leaving? She goes, at the beginning of May. Oh, perfect. I'll be there May 31st. Make room for me. How much I got to pay you for rent? So literally May 31st, the day after Ayana's birthday, I hauled ass, packed up my house or my bags and made my house ready to go get Airbnb. so I can make some income while I was gone. And I moved to New York, and literally it was the most amazing experience of my life. It reassured me that podcasting is literally everything that I love. And it also showed me that I can get into any room that I want if I put my mind to it. So how, going back to, how I met Charlamagne, I thought that mentorship would be it. I thought I was going to have him as a mentor. I was going to have a radio job, and boom, I was famous now and rich. But that's not how it worked. He's a very busy man, and what I envisioned as a mentor from him is not what I got. What I really received was I was able to be in certain rooms. I was able to watch what was going on, and through that experience, I gained a really close friend, which was Wax. And we were really good friends. I would talk to him about all kinds of things. When I went through my breakup with my ex, I was like, listen, I think what I want to have is a hoe phase. I'm ready for this. And he was like, word. So I got flued out 1 time, 2 times. And I was telling him about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go see this person. He done flued me out. Like, I'm going to be a hoe out here in these streets. And he's like, all right, be careful. So we would talk all the time, but I grew this friendship with this guy. And I knew so much about him. He knew so much about me. When my father passed away, when my father passed away, I'm sorry. When I would talk about like things with my father, like he was there, like there were a lot of experiences that I went through that he would know all about. And I'm like, how did you know about all this? He's like, we talk all the time. So when I moved to New York, I let him know that I was coming up, and I'm like, hey, listen, I hit up Charlamagne. I told him I wanted to come to the station and like come shadow him for a while during the summer. He said, cool. He was like, all right, come through. So he was basically my door into getting into places. And again, like I said, what I envisioned from a mentorship from Charlamagne is not what I got, but I received a friendship from the both of them, in a sense, or a relationship where I was able to be in certain rooms, and I had to take that advantage of that. He's an extremely busy person, so I couldn't even be like, hey, I want to do A, B, C, and D with you, because I couldn't. But because I was allowed to be in those rooms, I started to, introduce myself to people. Wax would let me in. I would say hi to everybody and then start looking around. Who's this person? Who's that person? I need to know that one. So that's how I met sound engineers. And I built a relationship with them where I was like, hey, I'm coming in town. I want to learn the boards. Hey, when are you working? Can I shadow you? And when you ask these questions and you carry yourself in a certain way, they will tell you yes. I haven't gotten a no yet. So I wanted to go do the boards of the radio station, and there was someone there that was like, hey, I got you. And I went and I did the boards of the radio station. Then I wanted to learn the boards behind Brilliant Idiots, which is Charlamagne's podcast. And I, became friends with their engineer, and the engineer was like, hey, come on this day, like this day weekly, be here at this time, and you can be here and shout at me, and I'll teach you what I do and how I do it. So that's what I was doing. And it's all about being at the right place at the right time. Because I'm not sure if I think I've talked about this here on the podcast before, and I definitely have talked about it on live. But the way that I was able to make it onto Brilliant Idiots that summer, when I moved, I said that there was one thing that I wanted out of being in New York. One thing and one thing only. I needed to get on Brilliant Idiots. That's my favorite show. It's my favorite radio personality. I needed to get on that show. I wanted to get there because once I got there, again, it was the end all be all. I needed to get on it. So I was going on a weekly basis and, being behind the scenes. And one time I'm behind the scenes and the producer, they were talking about something. She's like, oh, get on the mic. Y'all, I got so scared that I didn't get on. I was like, no, it's okay. And then I kicked myself in the ass. I said, that was my opportunity. God gave me the opportunity and I didn't take it. So I went back to Mandy and I'm like, Mandy, I did this and I didn't get on the mic. And Taylor told me to talk and I didn't talk. That's it. That was my chance and I blew it. And of course she called me stupid and cussed me out. She's like, you're so dumb. It's never going to happen again. All this you got to say and now you have nothing to say. And I'm like, you're right. I fucked up. So I kept going again. And the next time, there was no opportunity for me. And then again, I went and I got there early. I got to watch The Breakfast Club for a while, film, and it was time for the podcast. And we're waiting for the guests to come in, and 2 of the guests don't show up. And that was the week right after Mandy had quit her job. And I told her, I was like, come with me so you can learn the boards as well, because her and I are very involved with our podcast and producing our shows. So she has learned how to edit. I've taught her many, many things. She's taught me many, many things, and we want to learn as much as we can. So I told her, come with me, and I'll ask Dwayne if you can come with me and we'll just go ahead and learn together. So the both of us are in the studio and they don't show up. The guests don't show up. So Charlamagne turns around and he says, hey, Carla and Mandy, hop on the mic. Again, this is me being in the right place at the right time, manifesting exactly what I wanted and moving like I knew who I was and what I deserved and, my worth and what I needed, what I wanted. So when he said that, her and I hopped a little asses like bunnies off our chairs and jumped on those mics and like, this is our chance, because she had been on Brilliant before, but I believe it had been like a year and they only had like 20 minutes at the end of like the show, something like that. So it was a full episode of her on there and myself on there. So I was able to be represented on the show and I didn't care what it was. I was just like, I did it. He was able to hear me on the mic and his audience was able to hear me on the mic. So New York was the most amazing experience for me. And I was able to grow my podcast, get a lot of listeners. And during all of this, I had started doing one-on-one consultations for podcasting. I had taught myself so much that I wanted to teach others. I am a person that I don't like to keep information to myself. Anything that I know, I want to teach others because it helped me at one point in time. So I'm doing one-on-one consultations and I realized I need to scale what I'm doing. I was spending way too much time one-on-one repeating myself over and over again. I was like, how can I scale this? So I decided to invest in myself and I bought courses on building courses. I bought courses on speaking, courses on teaching, courses on putting things together for students. And that's exactly what I did. Now, keep in mind, I just told you I graduated with my degree. I have about $70,000 of student loans, but I want to be the best that I could be at what I'm doing. If I'm going to charge someone and create a business off of something that I'm teaching you, I want to be the best at it. So I invested in myself because I knew that if I didn't, no one else would. And I need to teach my daughter what it is to be an entrepreneur, what it is to be independent, because at the end of the day, I know as a woman, I want a partner and I want someone that I can rely on if I need them, but I don't want to have to rely on them. I want to know that one day if he falls, I can take over the load, and vice versa. If I fall, he can take over the load for me. It's a partnership at the end of the day, but alone, I want her to know, and I've always told myself, I don't need a man for anything. There is no one that's going to take care of me, but I can have a partner. So I started my business, Idea Launch Academy, and it has been a roller coaster. There are months that are great. There are months that I'm like, okay, I need a job. I need to be a stripper. Maybe like I need to go collect cans out of trash cans. Other times I'm at the top of the world, but I come to realize that's what entrepreneurship is. And I was so used to a check on a bi-weekly basis or on a weekly basis. And don't get me wrong, working for a company is great experience. I think you can have an amazing time. I think you can grow with inside a company. Not everybody is built for entrepreneurship. And I think I've talked about this before. There was a episode that I had about entrepreneurship with Dave Anderson. And we talk about it then. I think we all should have a side hustle for sure. So if you have any type of expertise, if you were like me, an accountant, if you're a plumber, if you are a secretary, if you're a personal assistant, anything that it is that you do, take that craft, take that, that special, what's the word that I'm looking for? That special, whatever you're great at, you're an expert at something. Turn that into an income for yourself. You can start a podcast. You can start a blog. You can start a side business with t-shirts, anything that it is, and push it. Make that extra income on the side. It becomes your side hustle. That side hustle one day, you never know, will become your main source of income, but you always want something of your own. That's just the way that I view life. I think we all, at one point we'll have a job. And if you have a job, it's great. But, use that time that you're not at the job to create something for yourself, whether that is, buying real estate and making sure you leave a legacy behind for your family. So here I am today, 2020, 100 episodes. I am monetizing off of my podcast. I have Idea Launch Academy where I keep teaching more and more students on how to launch their podcast and get their story out there, show everyone else their expertise, push their products through, their voice and their experiences. And nothing makes me more satisfied and happy than that. Now, let me tell you, I am not perfect by any anything. Like I'm not perfect. I don't have it all figured out. I really don't. I still cry a couple of times a week because I'm emotional as hell. My body is going through a million changes. I am now completely different. If you listen to me from day one, I was completely adamant about the fact that I did not want children. I would never get married again. Like, no. All of that was absolutely not. And now I'm in a stage of my life where I'm about to be 33 years old this year, my Jesus year. I don't know what I'm going to do for my birthday, by the way. Anyways, come back, Carla. I'm turning 33 this year, and I have completely shifted my mindset to I do want a family. I think I want another baby. I think I want to get married. You know, all these things, it's a big change for me, and I'm trying to adjust to how I feel. I just got off of birth control after 15 years, which is not because I'm in a new relationship. In my actual vision board for 2019, I wanted to get off birth control in June. But what happened was that I moved to New York and I had broken things off with my 6-year relationship. And I was like, well, I think I want to have a hoe phase. So let me not get off birth control just yet. And while trying to have this hoe phase, I found the love of my life. I found the person that I'm absolutely head over heels for. So I stayed on birth control. But now, you know, my body was going through certain things, and I said, you know what, I need to give myself a break. This is the perfect time for me to let go of all these things out of my body so I can, you know, be healthy again. I want to be healthy mentally. I want to be healthy physically. I want to have emotional health. So I'm taking all those steps, and it is not easy. I tell you, it is not easy. I have been having, you know, a streak of nightmares, and I think I'm going to record a full episode about this week for Patreon. I spoke to my cousin about this, and I think there are a lot of things that have been going within myself and my mind, and going back to church after so many years and working on my spirituality and my relationship with God and my relationship with myself, really, you know, being very honest about what I want out of life. That is changing how I think. So I think my mindset, I know that my mindset is changing because of all of these changes that I'm making in my life. So depending on what chapter you're on, you know, I think I'm on my I'm about to go into my chapter 33. Let's just say that. And my chapter 33 is bringing a lot of changes, and I love every single one of them, but they come with their downs, and I have more challenges and battles that are coming for me this year and next year and the year after that. I just have to choose very wisely who it is that I want to battle with and what are the things that deserve my time. So that is a little bit of my story, how I got to where I am. I am a very passionate woman. I'm not angry. I promise you guys, I'm not angry. I am a very level-headed person. I'm working on my past where I was a very violent girl. I was raised to be violent. I was raised to fight with my voice, to fight with my hands. And now I'm just, you know, I took away the hands part, and I'm fighting for myself and for others, for my child, with my voice. I want to make a change with my voice and help others do the same thing, because I can't change everything, you know. And my podcast today is still a very minuscule podcast compared to all of these that are out here right now. But I know that just me, this little girl from Orlando who was an accountant, who her parents, you know, her dad had a business, her mom was a stay-at-home mom. You know, I didn't come from a Kardashian family, or I wasn't associated with all these famous people. No, I'm from Orlando. If my voice can make a difference, even if it's a small difference, I think that your voice could do the same thing. And we all have to do our part in this world to make things better for us, especially women of color, men of color. We have to make a difference now, because if it's not us, who does it, then who will? I know I think it was at one of the Academy Awards recently, that the white man said, you know, that he can't stand, or he realizes that it's very prejudiced and it's not inclusive. And I get all of that, and it's cool that he's recognizing it. I'm not in that industry, so it doesn't do much for me. I know in my industry as well, it's very white when they do the I Heart radio podcast awards. They're all white as hell, the people that win, and that's fine. And I know we want to be recognized at one point in time, but I'm rocking for my people, and I want to grow my platform to make a difference, like I said. So that is about me, my story. I have a few questions that you guys wanted me to answer, and I'm going to go ahead and get into those really quick and, give you my answers. Okay, so Independent Lady 142. Hey girl, you asked who or what inspired you to go for what you wanted. So being inspired, I believe, like I told you, my dad inspired me to just go for it. He used to go for anything. He started restaurants. He had his pawn shops. He had car dealerships. A lot of them would do great. Some of them would fail. He didn't care what it was. He was always investing his money and his time into something. So he inspired me to be fearless. And going for what I wanted, I want it. I don't want to wait on anyone else to give me what I want. So I usually just go for it and take the risk, and whatever happens, happens. If I fail, I fail. I think I posted a quote today, failure is in the journey. It's going to happen. It's part of the success. It was something along those lines, but that's what inspired me. You also asked, when did I decide I wanted to start a podcast? And I think I answered that throughout my journey. I decided that right after my blog, and I was like, you know what? I want to talk. I want you to hear my fucks. I want you guys to hear, exactly what I mean when I'm saying it. So that's what moved me from a blog to a podcast. Ms. D asked, before leaving your job, how did you balance this life, work, child, and podcast? Because this will be me. Girl, I'm telling you, it was a hard couple of months or almost a year that I was doing it. You just have to make sure you work. The 9 to 5 pays your bills for right now, but that 6 to 2 a.m., 8 to 2 a.m., that's what's going to build your dream. So remember, the 9 to 5 will pay your bills. From 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., that's going to build your dream. So keep that in mind while you are going and grinding. Build that side hustle for yourself. Now, beautifully wise Kara asked, how does it feel right now to be in a healthy relationship and succeeding professionally? Girl, it feels amazing. I am definitely in one of the most healthiest relationships I've ever been in my entire life. So if you think back to the relationship I had with my dad, it was probably not the greatest. It was, but it wasn't. There were a lot of toxic traits into it. We would fight and then be okay. That was our relationship. And I thought that was okay at certain point in times with men. So however I dealt with my dad, I would deal with men. And I knew it wasn't right. And I knew I didn't have the best example coming from my parents. But I also knew how he treated me as a daughter and how he loved me and supported me. And that aspect of the relationship with my father, I now have with the man that I'm with. And I have the love and the respect and the understanding, the trust. Oh my goodness, the trust is the most amazing part of it because I trust him blindly. He trusts me. Of course, there's times I would say that we think back and we're like, be careful what you're saying with this or what you're doing with that. But we both know that we're in it 100%. And being in a healthy relationship is probably one of the best things for me because that is allowing me to focus on my podcast, on my business. Someone asked me, I think it was Skies Grande, about my past relationship. And I don't really want to touch on that too much. But what I will say is that I can see the correlation as to why I couldn't succeed or move forward too much because I was being held back by arguments and by just negative things that were going on in a relationship. So once you're in a healthy one, whether it's alone, with yourself, or with a partner that supports you, your professional life will also move forward and get better. So that's basically what I have to say on that. Y'all, I'm so corny and I'm so in love. Ayana calls us the CEO of corny, but being in love like this is one of those things that if you've never been in love, you won't understand. You'll definitely think it's corny. If you've been here and you felt it, you'll definitely understand what it feels like. Now, Shay asked, how do you keep your energy up? What do you do to decompress? My energy is definitely not always up. So right now, I hit this red button and I hit record and I'm like, get it up. But one of the things that I would say is that don't always expect your energy to be up. I am actually, a little scared when I meet people because I think that you guys might expect for me to always be high energy, and I'm not. But to keep my energy up, I read a book. Lately, I'll just pray. I will watch something on TV. I'll just take a step back and say to myself, what are you grateful for? Why are you down? What's going on? How do we fix this? I'll go to the gym at times. And although I'll tell you right now, I hate to work out. I hate to sweat. I hate to be sore. But going to the gym does something for you. I know scientifically it's supposed to, release endorphins or whatever it's called. But going to the gym at times, get on that step master, do my 100 floors, do some sit-ups, do a couple of weights. I come out and I'm like, I feel better. I feel like I released, some pressure off of me. So that's what I do to keep my energy. And then when I need to I'm anxious and I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just lay in bed. I literally learned to take a break and say, you know what, today I can't do it. I can't do it today. I'm not moving and I'm not forcing myself to. When I force certain things, they don't come out the right way. And I've seen it. So I don't force anything. And if I don't want to do it, I just don't. That's simple. Like, I don't do it. So thank you so much for submitting those questions, guys. And we're going to do unsolicited advice really quick. Let's just give some advice because I'm feeling today like I can do that, Okay, here we go. So extra long story short, I finally found my birth father. I tried connecting with him, but I wasn't able to do so. So I reached out to my newly discovered half brother and told him who I was. He wasn't surprised about me at all. He told me he would talk to my biological dad and ask him about all of this, but he didn't do it right away, and this was a few weeks ago. Then I matched with my half-sisters through DNA testing, and she had no idea that I existed. She reached out to me, and I told her who I was. I also reached out to my biological aunt and tried to connect with him through her. Anyway, my persistence paid off. However, when I talked to my brother for the first time, yay, he told me my dad was upset. He was the quote unquote last to the party and has requested that I send him a letter to his P.O. box. I said I would, but then I thought about it. This is where my question comes in. What should I do? I'm not desperate for a relationship with him. He's actually known about me since before I was born, yet claims to just have found out about me. I already tried reaching out to him and he claimed to not know my mother. My mom also talked with him within the last 10 years to let him know that I was going to be contacting him at some point to figure everything out. I feel like this is such a power play on his part. It could be innocent enough, but I almost feel like it's a trap. This is a difficult one. And I would say that I don't think it's so much a trap from your dad, but really that he doesn't really care much to meet you. I'm assuming here, I don't know you, I don't know your dad, I don't know what the circumstances were as to why he's not in your life, but it seems like he's avoiding you. He might think that maybe you want child support or emotional support, something that he might not be able to give you. It seems like he has a relationship with other children of his, so maybe he's not ready for what you might want from him. And you say on here, I believe, is that you're not relationship or desperate for a relationship with him. But I don't think he can tell that by the fact that you have reached out to brother, sister, aunts. Like, you've reached out to a lot of people to get a hold of him. So he might think that, you are desperate to see him. And you shouldn't disguise if you are really wanting a relationship with your dad, because it's really important. Like, we yearn for that relationship with our parents. I still to this day yearn a relationship with my mother, and I don't really know why. And I think it's just one of those things that it's an instinct of ours. It might not necessarily be her, but I like that relationship that you see other people have with their parents. So there are a few different possibilities as to why he's acting the way that he is. We can't blame him right away. We can't blame your mother, but sometimes things are just the way they are. Maybe send him that letter if you really want to and see what he says. But I would say don't stress it. Don't push it too hard, because I think it might push him away a little bit more and hurt you. Sometimes you open up Pandora's box and it becomes worse than what you expected. So know and be wary of the fact that he might not be ready to meet you. So that's basically what I have to say about that. If you or anyone that you know is going through something and you want to send me a letter for advice, I'm telling you, I give really, really good advice. I might not take my own advice all the time, but I give good advice. I'm like a professional at this, aren't I? You know? Anywho, go ahead and send me an email to shitim30podcast@gmail.com, and I might just read your letter next. And now I want to take us into my favorite segment and the last one. Every time I say it, I crack up. But here we go. Shit talk! So we're going to keep this a secret between us. I'm glad that I'm doing it while she's at school. Ayana, my poor baby, has gone through a heartbreak. So my shit talk is really going to these little boys in middle school and high school, right now high school. Guys, my baby's heart was broken. And when I tell you it broke my heart, I tried to warn her that these little boys ain't shit. I tried to warn her, but she didn't listen. You know, she fell in love in the long time of a week. She met him and she was like, this is the one. So we had a conversation and my baby kissed a boy. I was in Jersey and Wax and I were on speakerphone with her. We had this conversation and she was telling us, you know, I think this is the only boy I'll ever kiss throughout high school. She was very adamant about it. She said that, you know, he's great to her. She doesn't think that she's moving too fast. And me and him are looking at each other like, well, you're definitely moving way too fast. She said that she isn't. So, you know, we had the conversation with her, be careful. You know, you're going to have other toads to kiss because this boy is ugly as hell to me, in my opinion. But, you know, I go through her phone, I read the messages, I snoop. I knew he wasn't shit, but she didn't know. And she had to, you know, learn from her own experiences. Wax had a really long conversation with her. By really long, I mean like 5 minutes. It felt like an eternity to me because as I'm listening, I'm boohoo crying. The fact that she admitted to us that she kissed the boy, my God. I mean, I had to be happy that she's open enough to talk to us and tell us, hey, yeah, I did kiss a boy, or I like this boy, or whatever it is. But come to find out, last Friday, he broke up with her. I had a conversation with the kid. Then he breaks up with her. And then we found out yesterday that he was playing her all along. He was dating her and this other girl. And then this other girl went to visit him at McDonald's, which is where he works. And then they kissed there. And he had been kissing the both of them. And basically, he went shit. And he probably ain't going to be shit. It's probably going to take until he's 40 years old to actually find somebody. But it was a lesson learned from my baby girl. And it sucks that I can't teach her from my experiences. And she has to learn on her own. Breaks my heart. But hopefully she learned a lesson here. And maybe she'll get involved with something else other than boys. She is just boy crazy right now. And I understand that being in school nowadays, that's what the girls are talking about. Everybody want to have a boyfriend. Everybody's talking about whatever. They have all these TV shows. I'm not going to escape it. She's not going to escape being heartbroken. I was heartbroken. And I remember how real it felt. I mean, she was head over heels in 2 weeks. But it is what it is. Like, really, screw him. But at the end of the day, I thought about it and I said, you know, he toyed with her, but he would tell her the truth sometimes that he was mean. And can I fault him? Not really. But can I fault her? Not really. It just sucks. It's a shitty situation. I wish I could beat him up, but I know I can't because he's underage. I wish I could shield her from pain, but I know I can't. So if you're out there and you have kids, and if specifically they're teenagers, guard them as much as you can. I still talk to her. I let her know, you know, just don't get taken advantage anymore. You know, be a savage like your mama was and be like, you don't want to talk to me? Bye. You know, I'm busy with basketball. I'm busy with my Spanish club. I'm busy with the math club. I'm busy with my debate team. I was always so busy and I want her to do the same thing. But nowadays, social media and these phones is just a different way of growing up. Her and I are only 18 years apart. Only 18 years apart. You realize that some of these parents are 30, 40 years, you know, apart from their children. So we're not that different, yet it's a world of a difference at the same time. I wasn't stuck on a phone all day long. I had things to do, and them, they're just on Netflix, Hulu, social media, and everything is digital. So it's really different for me to raise her from more the way that I was raised and what was cool to me back then. But I'm trying as a mom. So all you moms out there and dads, good luck to you. I'm over here, you know, feeling your pain. I know you can feel mine, but, you know, fuck that little boy. Ugly ass little boy. Anyways, let me stop being mean. So that is today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in and staying on in here this full hour with me. I want to, again, if this is your first time listening to my show, I hope that you learned a little bit something new from me. Hopefully you can relate to what I'm going through. If you've been here rocking with me since day one, again, thank you. You guys are amazing. You guys are helping me get to where I'm going. Make sure you share my episodes. Make sure you post about my episodes. Make sure that if you have not yet rated and reviewed my podcast, please do so on Apple Podcasts. It helps me so much. Whenever you see someone with an Apple phone or iPhone, just grab their phone and say, let me see your podcast app real quick. Rate it, review it, just really quick. Let me know what it is that you think about the podcast. Actually, I'm going to read one right now. Let's see. Let's go back to what we got going on here. And I'm going to read one of the recent reviews from on here. And it comes from Rocco's Tonight. And it says, best podcast I've tuned into. Keep it up. I'm so happy to be in my 30s. Listen, I'm so happy to be in my 30s. You have no idea. So for all you, my friends, you're in your 30s. We are in the prime of our lives. We look good. We feel good. Let's be proud of it. Now, if you want to join me on Patreon, you can go to www.patreon.com/shit-I'm30. It's also going to be linked in the description or all of my social medias. You can join there. You get extra episodes. I like to share YouTube videos on there. We will now be having, for the $5 tier, virtual wind downs for you ladies. If you want to join us, it'll be a video chat and we get to talk about different topics. The first one is actually going to be this Friday. So if you want to join us for the virtual party, that is this Friday at 8:30, I believe. So you must be a patron to join, and the link for the meeting is on there with the password. We'll be doing that on Friday. And again, if you want to start a podcast, you know where to reach me. I will link on here the Idea to Launch Academy that will be closing soon, so you can join that and get your show started within 30 days. That comes with a one-on-one consultation with me where you can brainstorm. So again, share all of this with your friends, share all this with your family. Help us grow, because all of this is for us. More episodes, more information, more guests will be coming just for you. And thank you again. I'll see you guys next week. One more thing before we get out of here. I want you to learn about this new podcast that is out now, Relationships by Claire. You're going to love it. She has conversations with her friends all about relationships, but let her tell you what it's all about. Relationships, you can find it anywhere we listen to podcasts. Listen up.
Do you know those nights when you accidentally get real wine drunk with new friends, and next thing you know, you start revealing an inappropriate amount of detail about your life, and you give each other amazingly mediocre advice? Yeah, that's relationships. Hi, I'm Claire, and Relationships is the new podcast where every week we unpack and sometimes overshare our every thought about human connection. From frenemy drama and gossip, or hot goss, as I like to say, to hookups and real-life relationship problems, we get into it all. Think Oprah meets Maury, but with wine, or whiskey, or whatever you like to sip on. So grab your drink, grab your snacks, and join me, Claire, and my weekly guests in this soiree of drunken mess. Follow at Relationships Pod on Instagram and Twitter to make sure you don't miss the party. Cheers and ciao for now. Claire out. Mic drop. Period poo. Alright, let me get out of here for real before they kick me out.